I wanted like what is behind that word to really be dependable also. I didn't just want it to be a marketing gimmick. I wanted to be like, when I say that word, I know I'm getting something incredibly high quality, consistent, like made with care. I really, in the name of the company, wanted to offer something simple, positive, easy bar call. And as I looked around and started to do research, I was like, wow, I didn't realize how little people actually drink. Like most people, when they go to a bar or restaurant, have like one drink. Most people have like one drink or less per week, which was pretty surprising to me in society.
Welcome to the Worthy for 30 podcast. I am your host, Eric Tash. Join us as we delve into the world of impactful business leaders who are setting the bar high. Worthy for 30 carefully curates its guests, engaging with business trailblazers who embody the ethos of doing good while doing well. In each episode, we extract actionable tips and wisdom from these visionaries, offering you a blueprint to merge success with social impact. Ready to elevate your business game? Let's dive in and learn how to do good while thriving. Worthy for 30, where purpose meets profit. Welcome back to another episode of the Worthy for 30 podcast. I am your host, Eric Tash. With me today is Bill Shufelt, the co-founder and CEO of Athletic Brewing Company, one of the premier non-alcoholic brewing beers in the country. I actually told Bill beforehand, I'm an avid Athletic Brewing consumer. I love the IPA. What are you drinking, Bill?
I'm drinking one of our limited releases, a Farmhouse Peach Beer.
Farmhouse Peach Beer, okay. So I'm in New Jersey, as I mentioned. Can I find that at Bottle King or Total Wine?
So we have a lineup of 5 to 8 beers that might be at any given retailer nationally. And we have a store finder on our website. But then on our same website, we release up to 50 beers a year, which would be way too noisy for retailers and distributors to get out to stores. So there's a lot of creativity on there, which because we have actually like built our own breweries and have our own great brewing team, we have tanks of all different sizes that we can flex a lot of that creativity on.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. Being agile and nimble with the different types of beer that you release on an ongoing basis. Before you and I spoke today, I went on the Athletic Brewing website. I saw that great video of you and your co-founder. I'd love for you to talk about, the start of Athletic Brewing. You were on Wall Street. What was that pivotal moment or that inflection point where you decided, I want to be an entrepreneur and I want to be an entrepreneur in this space in particular?
Yeah, kind of crazy. And I was definitely never of the entrepreneurial mindset. I was not someone who was sitting on a lot of ideas and decided this was my best idea and I got to do it. I liked my job. It was intellectually challenging. I worked at one of the world's biggest hedge funds. I loved my colleagues. I loved the challenge. I was definitely not looking for a change in my career. I was thinking I was doing that the next 20 years. Not to say that I found it deeply fulfilling or anything. Like the work week was immensely painful, but I assumed nobody liked their job as an adult. So that was kind of my baseline. I'd grown up in a town that was all finance people, went to college for economics, went into finance in New York City after. And that was my life. And I was off and running and I was having a lot of fun, socializing, work dinners, bachelor parties, weddings, barbecues, everything. And at the end of my 20s, I was turning 30. I was about to get married, thinking about myself as a parent in the future, taking my career more seriously, looking at my long-term health and fitness, and all these goals. I realized like alcohol was kind of a ceiling on every part of my life. And I was like, And, I definitely had too much fun from time to time, which led to unproductive work days and distractions in general in life, whether that's like health or otherwise. And so I was training for my first ultra marathon at the time. And I was like, I'm going to take 30 days off from drinking and see how that goes. And all of a sudden I realized it was like the biggest hack I've ever discovered. It was like this virtuous cycle where I was sleeping better, eating better. I was performing better at work. I was getting better workouts. Relationships were better. And I actually really didn't miss the alcohol in any part of my life, which was shocking. And so here I was kind of off and running on a sober lifestyle, for lack of a better word. And it was just like a modern, healthy choice, but there were no options. Like every time I was out to probably 150 work dinners a year and then bachelor parties, weddings, barbecues. I love sports. I love beer. I love good food. And I didn't want those things going away. So here I was, like begging for like a great non-alcoholic beer. I just wanted a beer or a glass of wine or something in my hand that didn't have alcohol. And I couldn't believe it didn't exist. And as I looked around and started to do research, I was like, wow, I didn't realize how little people actually drink. Like most people, when they go to a bar or restaurant, have like one drink. And most people have like one drink or less per week, which was pretty surprising to me in society. And I realized that the adult beverage world was really underserving the broader population. Like the offerings were very much what they were 100 years ago in terms of the occasions they were meeting. And I thought the adult beverage world needed a major overhaul to meet the modern busy lifestyle. And so that was kind of like a seed that planted with me. Like I mentioned that to my wife, and my wife was like, you should fix that. And I was like, what do you mean? And that like kind of blew me away. But before I knew it, me and her were off and running, researching Athletic Brewing, which didn't have a name at that time. And 2 years later, I thought I had done sufficient research, and I was so convicted that I had this rather unfulfilling career that was like personally all about money and lifestyle. Where here, for the first time in my life, I had an entrepreneurial idea where I might be able to have a positive impact on tens of millions of people if done right. And that was the moment where I actually first started considering quitting my job for the first time. So I know that was probably a lot longer than you expected.
No, that is amazing because, I haven't really spoken about this publicly except for family and friends. But about 3 years ago, I had that same sort of epiphany. I said, alcohol is no longer serving me. So what if I spend the next 30 days alcohol free? What is that going to do? What does that correlate? Again, it's not going to be a cause, but what is the correlating benefit of not drinking for 30 days? And I had that same sort of what you just said was like, my mind is so much more clear. I'm so much more productive. I sleep better. I eat better. I'm happier. Like all these just multiple benefits that are stacked on top of one another. And then I said, okay, what can I do it for 60 days? Can I do it for 90? And then now it's 3 years later. And I had the same sort of thought, Bill, where it's like, okay, I remember my dad when I was a kid. My dad doesn't really like drinking beer. So when I was a kid, I remember him buying O'Doul's. And fast forward to when now to my, I'm early 40s. I'm like, okay, is the non-alcoholic beverage market the same as it was, 20, 30 years ago? And I think it has changed, and I imagine you could speak to this, the sparkling seltzers, the high noons. Did that usher in that new movement on, okay, people don't want to drink a lot. They still want to socialize. They still want to be productive in the morning. The same time those sparkling seltzers came to market, did you also see, okay, this is a great time to enter this market with a great tasting non-alcoholic beer that is the equivalent taste of a full alcoholic beverage?
Yeah. So I think touching on like your personal journey and my personal journey, and like very common threads I've heard are like, there's so much focus on like the word sober or sober curious. And they're like, sober is such a binary word. But if you really think about it, like the average person is not drinking 99% of the time they're awake. And so like being sober is really just going from like 99 to 100%. It's really not that big a change. What is a big change is there were never offerings, and it was never like socially acceptable to like have a non-alcoholic beverage in your hand. So that's what made it really tough. Because if you went to a bar or restaurant, there were no offerings, and advertising and everything had beaten into people's heads that when you leave the house, you drink alcohol. Where we're just trying to make that easy for people, like an outstanding quality product, well distributed, that bartenders and restaurants just proudly put on the menu, really makes that easy for people to go from 99% to 100%. And the other thing you're saying there too is like the innovation in the market. Like there had been almost no innovation in non-alcoholic beer forever. There was near beer product that was extremely popular called Bevo for decades. And really the same process that was made was how non-alcoholic beer mostly is still made. Not a ton of care and just an average product. And our co-founder, John Walker, was a really highly awarded technical brewmaster who really took it down to the screws and helped reinvent the way non-alcoholic beer is made. And I think that like dedication to quality, making non-alcoholic beer in a totally different method, and we're actually like standing up breweries dedicated to the quality of non-alcoholic beer, I think is like a big difference versus like for everyone else, it was always like a check the box product for corporate social responsibility. Here, we wanted to make it like the main event.
Yeah. Oh, 1000%. And it's interesting because you look at the ingredients, the ingredients on, again, looking on the can of Athletic Brewing that I have in my hand, it's all the same or similar ingredients that you would see in a full alcoholic beverage, alcoholic beer. And then I look at, some of the competition, it starts with malt liquor. So can you speak to the difference in terms of the ingredient composition of Athletic Brewing versus the competition?
Yeah, I mean, we really like to think of ourselves as like one of one, and like we really reinvented the way it's made. That's a trade secret and part of the reason we have our own breweries. But like the level of care in what we do, like even the ingredients on the can, like we go to those hop fields every fall for hop harvest and we identify what hops we want in our beer. And like, we like actually are picking the lots of hops. And so like taking that level of care for ingredient selection. And then we test every beer over 55 times during the life of the beer. And there's just like such a focus on like the quality of product. But then it is all our team does. So like they take such pride in these beers. And we've attracted like a who's who of really talented brewers from around the country to work on Athletic. It's really fun to see them like flex to creative challenges. Like I held up this farmhouse peach ale before, but we release about 50 beers a year on our website. And most of those are just like creative inspiration that our brewing team has. We have brewing systems in our facilities from as small as 3-barrel systems, which is about 30 cases, all the way up to, we have a fully automated 200-barrel brew house that brews into 900 and 1,500-barrel tanks. So we can do things of all sizes. But the cool thing is, like, one of my favorite examples, one of our brewers, Richard, on the West Coast in the San Diego brewery, a super talented guy, is like, I want to make a really good coffee porter. And so he got like 20 local San Diego coffee companies as samples, picked the best one. We did like a big census around the team, picked the best one. Then he made like, it was like 6 or 8 batches of the recipe. And so we put the best coffee in the best recipe, and like the whole team was involved in this process. And then that goes out in like one launch to our community of this like coffee porter that we're incredibly proud of. But we do that like 50 times a year. It's just like a totally different focus and variety of non-alcoholic beer, where if you go back 10 years ago, there were only lagers in the category and names you wouldn't recognize for any positive reason.
Yes, I agree. And yes. And no, there wasn't, that much in terms of variety. But going back to that coffee porter, again, you have that, that limited distribution, again, to that community, let's say on the West Coast. What is the feedback loop that, using that as an example, what's the feedback loop that you're getting from consumers in terms of the beer that's being produced?
So we sell most of our beers through retailers and stores, and like our most highly awarded, most popular beers you'll find on the shelf of like your Whole Foods, your Total Wine, your Walmart, and everywhere. So most craft breweries, when they launch like in their backyard, basically. It's whoever can get to the brewery and try it physically. And then you get like a local distributor, and then you have to build out brick by brick. And we have 270 distributors to get to the full 50 states. So it's a really intensive process. Athletic, because we're non-alcoholic, was able to launch nationally on e-commerce from day one. And so people, even though our tap room was in Stratford, Connecticut, they were hand stacking the beers, we could put them in the mail and mail them to people all the way out in Washington State or as far as Alaska from day one. And so like we had this big community. We were gathering a lot of data. We were getting a ton of perspectives, really tight feedback loops. Plus we take feedback on like, what are people's favorite beers? Do they want us to change the recipe? What would they like to see us make? And it's an amazing community. For years, I was like the customer experience person. My cell phone was the company like phone number. So when people called, it like went right to me. And so it was an incredibly small company. Me and John were getting a lot of very direct feedback, good and bad.
Excellent. And I think that's also to your competitive advantage because you're a non-alcoholic beer and you're able to sell direct to consumer and sell across the country and mail it out and get those tight feedback loops. I imagine your go-to-market on innovation has gotten more and more efficient over time. Once you get that feedback or once you have that idea that, this is what our consumer wants, let's produce it.
I will say it's, as the company grows, there's a natural, I would say 50% of my job is like fighting bureaucracy. And we take amazing pride in having a really flat hierarchy of a company, really direct customer touch points, like really free flow collaboration in the company. And an example is last week, John and I do an idea hour at the company where anyone can come pitch us ideas. And we do that quarterly, and it's really fun. I'd say our feedback loops were never tighter than like early on. Like we had one office room at our company. It was probably like 10 by 15 until we had about 20 teammates. So we had like 20 people in the room, and someone would just be sitting there and be like, John, do you think you could make like a raspberry sour? And like he would like stop at a farm stand on the way to work the next day and have like 3 pounds of fresh raspberries and like be like whipping up the pilot system. And I'd like hit our label company in a panic. Well, I'd hit our creative guy in Boston, hit our label company, and we'd have a label within 2 weeks. And like, we'd just be sending that out to the world. And that was really fun, like challenging John and our early brewers on recipes. And we've tried to really keep that spirit as we grow.
Okay. Yeah. Cause I know, again, looking at the pillars and the culture of the brand on the website, innovation is definitely one of those strong pillars of constantly looking to innovate. Cause again, it's not just checking the box. It's, how you're positioning Athletic Brewing to stack up against full alcoholic beers. It's funny, like I was on social media, this is 6 months ago, and Craig Conover from Southern Charm posted something about Athletic Brewing, about how it's on draft. I forgot where it was. It was at a bar, and he more or less said it's a semantics choice. It's like you don't ask the bartender for an non-alcoholic beer. You ask for an Athletic Brewing Company beer. Right? Because again, it's to your point. It's like semantics, but it's also positioning. It's also like when you say non-alcoholic, you think at least there's this misconception that it's an inferior product, where Athletic Brewing has again flipped it on its head, which I think is amazing because it's, yes, you can find Athletic Brewing, at your Total Wine, your Walmart, your Whole Foods, but I imagine too, you're also working with distributors to get beer tap handles at bars for consumers to try this beer first and then go out and purchase at their favorite, liquor store or convenience store or supermarket.
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's so unfortunately we live in a category where like the first word of the category is a negative word, which is really weird. Like the word non is like, it's tough to get past in a way. And so I really, in the name of the company, wanted to offer something simple, positive, easy bar call. And so Athletic is that. It kind of cuts through the noise. But I wanted like what is behind that word to really be dependable also. I didn't just want it to be a marketing gimmick. I wanted to be like, when I say that word, I know I'm getting something incredibly high quality, consistent, like made with care. And so we like to think we've done exactly that, where non-alcoholic beer is like one of 50 SKUs for most companies or more. It could be one of 300. It is our top, it is 100% of our focus at our company. So I think it's a pretty safe choice to enter the category through Athletic and then, try what you want elsewhere. But there's a lot of great people in the category, but it's an easy place to enter. And then, we put 2+ years of food safety and quality research into that draft program. And to offer our Run Wild beer on draft, we're super excited about it. It's delicious. It's so much fun. It's like an incredible weeknight beer. Bartenders across the country tell us that it is like our most popular weekday beer. Like people just come in. So it's on our store finder where you can get it. You can just select that. And many bars where it's served, it's their most popular beer because like it's so flexible in occasions and people mix it in between rounds and everything.
That is amazing. And what's also interesting, again, Athletic, to again cut through the noise. The other positioning or the positioning that I've also seen, at least for the consumer, is, you want to have a great tasting beer. At the same time, you want to be productive in the morning. Because I saw, Quinn Ewers, the quarterback on Texas, is a spokesperson for the brand. Can you talk to, again, that Athletic, again, the literal application of Athletic and how you're, again, tapping into that market of consumers who also want to be active while, again, still enjoying a great tasting beer?
Yeah, so I think that originally just emanated from my lifestyle. I'm like a very average, busy, modern adult. I want to be a little bit healthier, a little bit more productive. I like to fancy myself as an athlete. I love like working out in general. But like in any marketing choice, you're going to make some sort of choice where who are you speaking to? And such a high percentage of the country considers themselves athletic in some way. But we also like to say everybody's an athlete. Everybody truly is an athlete in something if you really think about it. And that could be something really obvious. You might be an NFL superstar like JJ Watt, or it might be video games, or it might be you're the best at Microsoft Excel in your company, or, so everyone's got something. It's more just being a generally positive and uplifting word and like kind of a healthy signal also. Yeah, you mentioned Quinn Ewers, the quarterback at Texas, who's amazing. We've been really lucky to team up with some incredible people on the journey. And like JJ Watt was an early discoverer and investor in the brand. Chef David Chang, supermodel Carly Kloss, Ben Hoffman, the lead Ironman, Brian Mazza, the well-known fitness influencer. A lot of these people came to us, and I was really fortunate to get introduced to some of them, but like to have them speak on behalf of our company, I was so lucky because it really helps tear down those walls, not in like a celebrity awareness, like short-term pop of awareness, what it does is give credibility to a category that never had anything positive to say about it. Like when you have someone like JJ Watt, who's when he's watching Saturday football before a game on Sunday, like posting on Instagram, like, oh, by the way, this is my Saturday beer while I watch Wisconsin play. It was like a huge deal for us early in our brand. So we're super lucky to be connected with these people early on.
1000%. And the thing about JJ Watt too, is that he has an incredible heart. I just remembered after Hurricane Harvey in Houston, how much money he raised to revitalize Houston, which was devastated by the hurricane, which speaks to the mission-driven aspect of Athletic Brewing, which I think is super interesting too. Again, Worthy for 30, we're all about talking to mission-driven individuals like yourself, Bill, who are doing well, at their craft, but at the same time, they're very conscious of how do I make an impact? How do I make positive impact? And especially to the communities that your brand or service serves. So I'd love for you to talk about, the 2 for Trails program or initiative. I know that, each year Athletic Brewing donates, was it $2 million? Each year to revitalize and restore trails throughout the U.S. This came about from your childhood, right? The 2 for Trails initiative.
So one thing on the last talking point too, about JJ Watt being authentically a great guy. Yeah. The first time I met him, him and his wife Kelia so it was around the holidays, they had a living room full of gifts that they were wrapping themselves to give to charity. Like he's not just like a celebrity, like farming out stuff and doing it for his image. He's like literally that nice a guy himself. So just wanted to shout him out for that unsolicited. It was a very cool moment to like stumble in and see that.
Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah. The second part of our mission statement at Athletic Brewing is to positively impact our communities and the environment for the better. And yeah, the 2 for the Trails program. So in like building the company, I wanted to make sure we were building a long-term company that was going to be supporting our customers and communities for the long term as well. Not just extracting from them, but like giving back and having that hard coded. And our 2 for the Trails program is exactly that. Like we naturally care about the environment and conservancy. And, I'm a father. I want to make sure that the outdoors is accessible and around for generations to come. And so our 2 for the Trails program donates up to $2 million a year to enhance outdoor access for generations to come, which ends up being hundreds of donations to trail and park cleanups, trail building, playgrounds, like trail systems. We did the Yosemite facelift one year, Appalachian Trail rehabilitation. And so I think last year we did like 211 donations with the $2 million. It changes every year, depending on the size of the grants, but it's every year the impact of this program really compounds. And then also in our communities, we like to just be generally positive and support the communities we do business. So we have 4 charitable beers a year plus a bunch of internal champion projects at Athletic Brewing. So our charitable beers do anything from supporting veterans to diversity brewing scholarships. And then we have all sorts of other projects and volunteer efforts and stuff like that. So it really is meaning for both our external community that Athletic feels present and investing everywhere we do business, but also internally for our team. It's very fulfilling to like see this impact steamroll year after year, every year, and be bigger and bigger. So that's very fun.
Absolutely. And to see that in real time. And also, right, there's an initiative, whether it's part of 2 for the Trails or adjacent to it, is encouraging employees to volunteer their time, right? Up to 12 days a year?
Yeah, so 1 day a month, and we're very often having like group volunteer days and efforts, and people can really it's very unrestricted. So whether people want to like go donate their time at a soup kitchen, or, we have a big bike building drive coming up next month. Some people do mentoring and things like that. So it's a really good, like decentralized way to like just impact the communities we do business as well.
And are there any of those sort of volunteer efforts that really stand out, that stand out to you that you're really proud of and that you want to share more broadly?
One of our teammates' families in Connecticut run something called Wishing Wheels. That is, in Bishop's Orchards is behind it, which is a great family-run business as well, but builds thousands of bikes every year for underprivileged kids. I think that's an amazing one.
That is incredible, to see, again, the impact that employees are having in terms of like employee retention. I imagine, having the 2 for the Trails, having 12 days a year, again, 1 day a month, to volunteer, again, have a more decentralized system. Like, what is that correlating impact on employee retention and satisfaction? Are you measuring that in any way?
We definitely measure that. And just overall retention and satisfaction is key to me because we genuinely care what our teammates think about the company and the culture. I think that's one of the most important things is all of us spend probably between 30 and 50% of our waking hours at our jobs or thinking about our jobs. And it's a really clear choice to be able to choose to love what you do, love who you work with. And that has a big impact on life. And so at Athletic, we generally try to take care of the basics really well for our teammates. Fully paid benefits, strong salaries above industry, fulfillment in the workplace, a lot of opportunity, very merit-based. And so we really try to take care of the basics in a good way. And then everyone in our company is an owner from day one in the profits interest of the company. Yeah, generally trying to build like that ownership mindset and like really have like a united mission driven team at the company.
That is extraordinary. And again, to take care of the basics, take care of the employees, and you take care of the employees will take care of the consumers, and the consumers, of course, the communities that they serve, and everyone, is happy and is satisfied and fulfilled again with their role and what they're doing. And you mentioned, the fully paid benefits, again, strong salaries that are above industry average. Again, everyone's an owner. Do you believe that you and your team have created a template? Has this been replicated? Have you gotten feedback from other founders and CEOs who've said, hey, Bill, what you've built is incredible. We're trying to replicate or implement some of those aspects in our culture?
Definitely open to sharing it. I do talk to a lot of founders, and like I'm definitely super open to sharing learnings from my journey. We're also a member of the B Corp community too, which is like a great community of companies that all hit like a minimum criteria of like positive impact in the world. And so it's a great place and group of companies to network around as well.
So what are those minimum requirements in order to be, again, accredited as a B corporation?
The way I think about B Corp, and I'm sure I'm going to miss their like website definition, but I think of it as like triple bottom line, where like you're not only thinking about like the net profit, but it's like people, planet, and shareholders all considered. So, and like the communities you do business in. So I think Athletic, from day one, we really had a lot of this like templated in. We had like really good taking care of our people and not like giving them opportunity. Then planet with Two for the Trails, communities we do business, like how we source, how we sell, and then how we get back is all intentional. We like to think we've been a triple bottom line from day one.
That is excellent. And in terms of, what you're looking forward to, or perhaps what's keeping you up at night, are there any developments that, the people who are going to be listening to this conversation should anticipate, let's say over the next 6 to 12 months that you and your team are really excited about?
I mean, there's so much innovation every day, literally. We're building a new West Coast brewery that we're really excited about. So that should be up and running at some point towards the end of next year. We are becoming more and more available. Like over most of our life as a company, we've been really capacity constrained. So we haven't been able to say yes to a lot of retailers. And we're starting to be able to open that aperture a little bit more in terms of who we say yes to and get our products more out there. So really excited for those things, but honestly doing a lot more of what we've been doing too. It's everything we've done since like a really tiny seed of a company is meant to just do kind of the same things over and over again. I love like there's so much to the company that people can be peeling back the onion on Athletic Brewing for years and still be discovering things they love, hopefully.
That is excellent. And for the people who are listening, what's the best way to follow you and follow Athletic Brewing as you continue to grow?
Thank you for asking. I think athleticbrewing.com has a bunch of information, and then following us on Instagram or social media is probably a great spot to start too.
Excellent. Well, Bill, this has been a great conversation. Really loved learning more about Athletic Brewing, the product. One other question, product, right? The packaging is great, but the product has to be exceptional. It's funny. I just saw a LinkedIn post. I'd love to get your perspective and response about Nerds. The candy came out with a new innovation where instead of it's just like the little Nerds, it's a Nerds plus like a sticky tape. So you get more of the product per serving. There was a lot of consternation on social media. I'm like, people were saying, why is Nerds deviating from where they were to what they are now? And it's all about innovation. But a lot of people who are supporting Nerds and Ferrara company who produces Nerds was touting it's all about the product. It's all about the product and what the consumers want. So I'd love to get your response. Again, when a brand, again, focuses on the product, regardless of whatever that manifestation is, at the end of the day, it's all about a superior product, I believe, which is going to make that consumer to say, you know what, I'm going to buy that product, I'm going to try that product, and I'm going to tell my friends about that product, versus the product's okay, the packaging is great, the product's okay, the marketing got me a little bit interested, but I try the product and it's eh. So just love to get your perspective on product versus, again, the sizzle versus the steak, more or less.
Well, it's great that many people care about the Nerds packaging. It probably shows they have a really engaged customer base. Yeah, I think at the end of the day, we're trying to deliver to our customers that like when they open their beer, it's like the best part of their day. And I genuinely like not as just like an employee of the company, but like as a customer, I was probably customer number one at Athletic and still a huge customer. When I put my son down to bed and crack a beer at night, it's like the best moment of my day. And I absolutely love that. And that's really what we're going for.
That is great. Anyway, Bill, again, it was a pleasure speaking with you today. Again, loved learning more about Athletic Brewing, its mission, its product. And as Bill mentioned, follow athleticbrewing.com. I'll include the website, the Instagram handle, so you can learn more. Subscribe to their email newsletter. Again, for all those exciting developments and also social media to follow those exciting developments that Bill mentioned. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. It was so nice to talk to you. Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for joining this episode of the Worthy for 30 podcast. Stay tuned for more insights from impactful business leaders. Don't miss out. Follow us on all podcast platforms to catch every conversation.